guess what? I'm back again. And this time I am going to be going live with Farmer Paul of Pasturebird, which is an amazing company. I want him to tell the story behind the founding of the company. I think it's pretty awesome. And we're just going to talk, chicken. We're talking chicken. And all about why Pasturebird makes amazing chicken and the kind of chicken you should be eating, the only kind of chicken you should be eating. You guys know how I feel about pastured animal products, animal meat, animal protein, and that it really should be the only thing you eat, because commercially factory farmed meats and chicken, are they even chicken is what I really wonder. So let's bring on Farmer Paul. So I think you have to request to join me live. Let's see. I see you. I'm going to wave. So now just hit request to join Amy live, and let's do it. Let's see. Okay, invite people. I'm going to invite you. And then you're going to accept the invitation. You're going to come on live. And we're going to talk chickens. If you guys have any interest in checking out the website while we're waiting for Paul to come on, go to amyralph.com/chicken. Made it very easy for you. And check out, hey there.
Wow, it worked.
It worked. You did it.
Sweet. I have no idea what I'm doing.
A tech-savvy farmer. Look at that.
Right. Good to see you. Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Cool.
I love to see companies like yours, and I love the story behind the creation of Pasturebird, or the impetus behind it all. You know, if you want to, we would tell everybody that story, like why did you do this?
I mean, I always kind of joke around like it all started with a tick bite for me. You know, I was in the backwoods of Virginia for Marine Corps sniper school, and there were like just bugs everywhere. Where are you located at, Amy?
I'm in Weston, Connecticut.
Okay, so you know what it's like in the woods in the summer
country,
on the East Coast. Like, part of the program was after we'd get out of the field, you had to have a buddy go and check you for ticks, and like each guy probably had 60 ticks or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Super gnarly, but one of the ticks happened to have the Lyme virus in it, so I contracted Lyme when I was like 22 or 23 years old, and just started feeling really, really crappy, you know? I had like arthritis issues, brain fog, fatigue. I don't know.
The whole autoimmune set in, you know.
The autoimmune deal started kicking my butt. And for me, I was a, all-American, like college athlete, and just a Marine, and like tough kid. And growing up in the 80s and 90s, like we never really thought about food or how it affected how you feel or perform or any of that. But in 2007, paleo was starting to get pretty popular, and CrossFit in the military. And so some guys were kind of like, hey, why don't you try like eating a low inflammation diet?
See if it helps.
What are you talking about? You know, back in that time, I had no idea. But sure enough, I mean, 2 weeks into it, I started to feel like a kid again. I could breathe through my nose. Like the back pain was gone, the knee pain. So
it's amazing.
Like a lot of your people probably have experienced, like food as medicine is real.
This is my MO, you know.
Totally.
It's amazing the change you see from a diet perspective. I just did a whole live on gut dysbiosis and how it impacts fertility, but it really is just autoimmunity and inflammation. If you heal the, you know, like your case, you had an autoimmune trigger, if you will, but food is the medicine. So that's awesome. So it was through your own healing journey that you got to paleo and CrossFit, and then tell us more, because then I thought it was funny reading on your website of like, then someone was like, oh, I just bought 50 chickens, like let's do this.
Yeah. So most normal people, that's where the story stops. You know, you start eating healthy and then feeling better, and then it's like, all right, we're good now. But we got down this deep rabbit hole of trying to find the type of food that we wanted to eat and feed our kids, and we really had a hard time. Like, we knew eating pasture-raised was super important. This was probably back in 2010, 2011. I had just gotten back from Iraq, and it was like, okay, we need to take this more seriously now. My whole family got pretty into it, and so we were looking in the farmer's market and the grocery store for pasture-raised beef, pasture-raised chicken, pasture-raised pork. Like, we just wanted to clean it all up, you know? All we could find was like free range, organic, cage-free, some of these labels. And we bought that for a while, but we didn't realize, like, when you start to dig into what those labels really mean,
It's like nothing.
it's pretty freaky, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky. So got super bummed about the options in our stores. I personally grew up like in
Especially
downtown
with
Seattle.
chicken, good quality chicken is so hard to find.
It is.
Really is. Yeah.
Well, and you hear a term like free range,
Yeah.
and you would think that that means these animals are like raised outside on pasture, like, you know,
That's what we
foraging and pecking and scratching. That's not really what's going on, you know. All that means is they had outdoor access for a few hours a day when the weather was right. So it's like it leaves a lot to be desired. And we were really looking at food.
Their feed is crap. They're not eating bugs the way they should be, right?
All they're getting is just corn and soybeans, corn and soybeans, corn and soybeans.
Which are what? Two of the most inflammatory foods that exist. So then we're going to eat those chickens, right? Yeah.
They're actually like, I mean, it's species appropriate for birds to eat grains and seeds. That's fine, but it needs to be with other, like a huge variety of other foods, right? So when they're just eating corn and soybeans their whole life, they're not chasing for bugs. They're not eating grasses and weeds and seeds and like all the beautiful array.
Yeah.
They don't process it that well. So I go into it a lot. I mean, chickens do have a gizzard. They have a special organ that stone grinds and sprouts grain and like makes it nutritionally available. It's cool. But they need that like mixed variety in their diet.
Right? Because isn't the omega-3 to 6 ratio off in like commercially farmed or
way
even
off.
Like half pastured, right? It's just like they need to be full pastured to actually get that right ratio.
100%.
Omega-6 for everybody is the pro-inflammatory. We want foods with the more omega-3s for the inflammatory. Yeah. But that's a really
My
good
brother-in-law
point
is like a PA, and he was studying a lot of the science behind the pasture-raised, and like the numbers are off the chart. I mean, not only like omegas, but you look at any of the micronutrients, like look at vitamin B, look at vitamin A, look at like NADH or quercetin or any of those. The numbers for pasture-raised are like 6 to 8 times higher, not just percentage, you know? So it's like, when you talk about food as medicine and you look at like nutrient density of food, it's really hard because we're used to shopping for price per pound is like how we traditionally Western, let's say how we think of it, but you're not getting the same food. So it's really not apples to apples when you're thinking about, well, pasture raised is like, yeah, it's expensive. It's actually the cheapest product out there for a nutrient density, you know?
Yeah, and that's it too. Like, I mean, one thing that I say all the time is you can't out supplement a shitty diet. So like you can't take a ton of quercetin if you're still eating like crappy chicken, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, because it actually, we know
I'm still in that. That's good.
Microbiome, it screws up the gut. You're not going to absorb any of your other foods. So it really is. It's like, and another thing I say a lot, and I probably stole it from somebody somewhere, is like pay now or pay later. So I do think when it comes to good quality meat, it is so worth it to pay up.
Listen to this stat. You probably already know this, but
go ahead.
70 years ago, we spent 40% of our paycheck on food and 10% on healthcare.
Yeah.
Today, we spend about 10% of our paycheck on food and maybe 40% of it on healthcare. So it's like, you're going to spend it one way or the other. You know, I'd rather have vitality and health and wellness and like
spending it. Yeah, you know,
exactly.
Really just get into, you know, food as an ally. That's what I always say. It's like, it's your friend, it's your ally, it's to work with you. It really is medicine. And like, I study Chinese medicine and food is our first line of defense, right? That's like where we start. You start with nutrition, and then we start with like herbs that are picked from the garden and, you know, like making our own concoctions. But that's really where it starts, is good quality food. And same thing, we've been talking nutrient density for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, you know, like organ meats and like the whole animal and all of that. And it's just gotten so far from that. I have a funny story though. So we got some of your chicken. It's amazing, by the way. My husband is really into smoking meats. He has like the Traeger and he uses like all the really good, you know, pellets and stuff, like non-toxic.
Right.
And so he smoked the chicken legs, like probably 4 or 5 of them the night. My little guy, he loves meat off of a bone, right? And so so the chicken legs are on the table and he just starts chomping down on one of them and he was like, Mom, make this more. This is the best chicken. But even the next morning, the first thing he says when he wakes up in the morning, he's like, Mom, that chicken last night was amazing.
That's so cool.
And it was all Pasture-Bird. So thank you for that. But
no, I'm sure your husband cooked it right and like got it right. But we hear that story constantly of kids that'll be like, what's this chicken, you know? And that's always cool to me because they don't care about the brand. They don't care about like how it's grown, none of that stuff. They're literally picking up the nutrients in that and like Yeah, I don't know if you've read any of like Mark Schatzker's work with Dorito effect or any of that, but
No.
there's literally signals in your
Oh,
brain that tell you like this tastes good because it's good for me.
yeah.
And the whole idea with Dorito effect is food scientists have figured out how to reverse engineer that
Yeah,
and
sugar,
basically
salt, fat. That other book, sugar,
signal
salt,
your
fat,
brain
it's
that
the
this is
same.
healthy. That's not really what's happening. So
Yeah.
that's really cool when kids pick up on it. We get a lot of like foreign or international customers. We only ship in the US, but people will come and they'll be like, man, like my grandma's paella recipe hasn't worked since like we got, you know, to this country, and so nice to have this chicken with real flavor again. So it's like
And
some of those are like
the
the
right
coolest compliments
nutrients.
ever. Kids and people that didn't grow up here, you know, it's always kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think it's like the right nutrient density, the right nutrient profile makes the taste, right? Because it's the right amount of fat and all the micronutrients. So
Totally.
tell us how your products work. Like how can we shop them, or what's your recommended? Because it's home delivery, right? And so it's a similar like butcher box model in a sense, right? Or is it like a
Yeah, it's pretty
shipping
similar.
stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll ship it anywhere in the US. You can just order pasturebird.com. We have a few packages, and then we just introduced like a la carte ordering too. So if
Yeah,
people don't
I like
necessarily
that.
want to do a whole box, then you can just grab a chicken or two chickens and free shipping over like $75 just to help us,
Amazing.
you know,
Yeah.
subsidize the cost of like getting it to you. It's obviously costs way more than that to ship it to you, but we wanted people to be able to try it for less than a full box price. But yeah, we do like half chickens are super popular in the summer.
Yeah, that's what he made
Um,
the half chicken too, like
yeah, it's a
last
cool
week.
product. If you're
Amazing.
used to cooking whole chickens or
Yeah.
spatchcock, I would recommend trying the half. Even if
Yeah.
like we have a huge family, we still use the halves just because they like flip really easily.
Yeah.
They're great on the grill. They're awesome to bake or roast or throw in the Instapot or crock
Yeah.
pot or whatever too.
And do
So
you guys sell the full chicken or just the half?
we do a whole chicken as well. We have chicken breasts, like boneless,
How
skinless
about
breasts.
chicken feet?
We do not do chicken feet right now. All of our
You
chicken
should
feet,
though,
so
because I need a good source to sell people.
100%.
Yeah.
We work with probably 80 chefs, restaurants up and down the West Coast, some of the best restaurants that are in our state, and they literally take every chicken foot that we have, like
No,
for their
because it's the
stocks
best for
and
stock.
sauces,
It's the
and
best.
yeah, oh, it's
It's the
amazing.
best. That's the only way to make good quality, broth or stock is with chicken feet.
Well, and
And
especially chicken feet that have not been walking around in their own
yes,
poop all the time. They're
yes,
like out
yeah,
exercising and
they
running
got the
around.
real
It's like a
delicate in
totally
there.
different
Yeah,
product. And
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Hopefully we can get either a broth product in soon or just like a bone broth kit, like a DIY bone broth kit would
I
be really
love that.
cool. Yeah,
I love
totally.
that. Yeah, I would totally promote that for you too.
Cool.
That's like that's our MO. I like to recommend Flavor Chef a lot. It's
Cool.
bonebroth.com. They're out in California
Yep.
and San Diego.
Yep. We know him.
Chef Lance had started it, but now I think he
Yeah.
sold it off. But same thing. I mean, he uses the filtered water and he cools it and the feed and the vinegar. Like he does it. It's all like nourishing traditions. Like it's like that
Yep.
style broth.
100%.
And love that company. Love recommending people to them. I feel like they've done a good thing with their sale and turnover.
Yeah, if you want to buy it like pre-made, I think that he does a really good job. We actually used to make broth with him, and when we lost our supply and chefs started buying it all, we just stopped doing it. But the Palomar water,
yes,
I mean, obviously the water is like the really important part for broth. And Palomar here in Southern California, our water source is pretty sketchy. So even at my house, which I'm at right now, we bring in Palomar water for our drinking water and everything. It's like the water situation here is pretty sketch, and Lance did an awesome job sourcing good water.
Are you guys
for that.
in San Diego? Are you in San Diego?
Our farm's in San Diego County. We're a little north of San Diego where we're at.
Yeah, I lived in San Diego for many years and went to grad school out there. Yeah.
Really? Okay, nice.
Yeah, love it.
It's a great place to grow chicken because we can do it 52 weeks a year and have them outside on pasture, like where you're at. You can do pasture-raised, but you're going to do it for maybe 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
And then you got to the staff all has to go find new jobs and the whole thing. So for us, we can keep like really awesome people on year round and be able to supply chefs and restaurants. So it's been a good place to grow a pastured poultry business for sure.
That's great. That's great. So you started with 50 chickens, and then how many do you have now?
Whoo! we started with 50. It was a complete joke. It was like, I grew up in downtown Seattle, and we were joking around about getting some chickens from the backyard. My brother-in-law kind of disappeared from the room, came back, and he goes, "Oh yeah, hey, I ordered 50 chickens. Are going to be here in 2 weeks. Better figure it out, 50 was meant to just be for our family. Like we were going to butcher them at home in the backyard and just keep them in the freezer for us and stuff. But people started finding out about it. And it was like, you know, I want 2, I want 4, I want 6. And pretty soon they were all sold out. And then the next month we did 100 and then 200 and then 400.
Amazing.
And then by like 2015, we got on the radar for the LA Lakers. And they wanted like the best food they could get for their players. This was back when Kobe was like getting towards the end of his career, and him and Steve Nash were like really into bone broth and traditional wellness and
Isn't that
like, real
amazing?
food and stuff.
I love that.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
So they sent the team chef nutritionist out, and they kind of like they became our very first wholesale client.
Yeah.
And then the Dodgers found out right after that. So then they started ordering stuff, and then we just started like really growing the business after that. So yeah, it started to go crazy after all that. So now let's see. 10,000, 20, 30, about 50,000 chickens that we're taking care of right at this moment. So any given day, we're moving 50,000 chickens to fresh pasture, and we do that every single day. So it could be like Christmas morning, you know, like or we and our guys are out there moving the birds to fresh pasture. Like it's an every single day thing. That's been one of the hardest things to get used to, is like zero downtime, you know. And before we had employees, it was like, what do you mean vacation? Like, are you kidding me? You have animals to take care of that need food and water, and they need moved every day. So it's like even going to town was like a problem. But now we have a really great team, so we're able to get off the farm a little bit and like go enjoy, you know, go into some of the restaurants that our food sold at and everything. So that's been really cool.
That's so fun. And it's so cool about the professional athletes, and that they really see the direct link between nutrition and performance, right? I mean, that's how you got to it too, through CrossFit. But it's so fascinating that like, and basically what you're doing is you're just improving cellular performance on every level in your body.
Exactly.
Which makes you this ultimate, you know, machine in a sense. And I just love that. Like I think it was Djokovic, Nadal, when he talked about changing his diet, and it completely changed his game. And I think it was like he cut out gluten and he ate more protein, and, you know, it was just, yeah, it's fascinating.
I'm surprised you don't hear more of those stories, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of the guys are 22 and they're not thinking about that yet, but they typically do have team nutritionists. So Dr. Kate Shanahan, I don't know if you're familiar with her work at all, but she was the nutritionist for the Lakers that brought us in. So she really knows her stuff.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the caveat to that story that's kind of depressing, but I tell it anyways, is we started feeding the Lakers. We're so excited. It was like Kobe, and it's like, oh, this is so rad, you know. They had the worst year on record. They won like the franchise record for worst season ever, and it was like, I hope that wasn't the chicken that caused that, you know.
Hope that wasn't a sign. No. Yeah. I mean, they're still incredible athletes. It probably just was, it was more coaching. Totally. It wasn't food. It was
there you go. It was a bad coach.
It was a bad coach. Well, that's great. So you guys can go to amyrob.com/chicken and check out all of these incredible products. And I'm going to be personally ordering the half chickens and whole chickens regularly because, and then we love that, like that dark meat pack. I think that's like the thighs and the legs, right?
Yes. Well, that's where all the good fat is. I mean, I know that everybody's into boneless, skinless breast, and it's like everybody thinks, for me, that's fine. Go order it. I mean, we have to sell all the parts of the bird, you know, but like, for me, the dark meat's really where like nutrient density is at. And even the drumsticks for us, we've been doing a ton of drumsticks for the kids. We pre-cook them as a meal prep thing and throw them in the kids' lunches, or just have them available in the fridge to eat cold. Like it's a killer quick meal. Thanks. And teach your kids and yourself how to eat drumsticks. You want to get all that cartilage. You want to like really get into that. And that's where a lot of the nutritional powerhouse comes from.
Nothing makes me happier, and it sounds so sick, but I know I can say it to you, than watching my child eat meat off of a bone. Like, I don't know what it is. Totally. Like, we have a picture of him. He's little, and my husband makes a lot of ribs, as you probably imagine. Like, he's an awesome meat cooker. Cool. And we have a picture of James, and he is just, like, sucking this bone dry. Like,
kids know how to do it,
he's so smart. He's strong. He's like, you know, I think, and it's all the fat and all the fat I ate, you know. So yeah, I'm all for eating the skin, eating all the pieces. I love just baking thighs with just some veggies around it and ghee or butter, and it's 100%. Delicious, right? It's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. We have a good picture of my daughter who's like, she's 5 now, but we cooked up chicken feet for her when she was like 1, you know, before she even knew what was going on. And she was just getting after it. It was like, I wish I could do that. I'm like,
No,
too,
I
I grew
couldn't.
up, as a McDonald's kid, so it's still weird for me. But when you introduce it young,
Yeah, they
I
have
mean,
no
they
idea.
love it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the best. So if you have young kids, get them on that like
Yeah,
real food nose to tail right away. It's the time to do it for sure.
100%. Yeah, there's a great book, Super Nutrition for Babies. I always recommend it. And that's kind of,
Mm,
she says, like liver, egg yolk, like chicken with the skin on, same thing. The
totally.
knuckles. Like my grandmother used to suck on those like pig knuckles. I remember like sitting at the dinner table, like, what the hell is that? But
It grosses you out when you're a teenager that didn't grow up with it, but that's literally where you're getting like all, I mean, you talk about the omega-3 6 ratio, like
yeah,
that's where it's all coming from. So when you just eat the muscle meat and you ignore everything else, you're missing a huge part of the nutrient density of the program.
yeah, so it's amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining and talking to our community.
For sure.
I know I'm going to be ordering from you guys regularly.
Oh, you're awesome.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
excited for that. And then everybody else go and check amyrupp.com/chicken. Get your chicken on, and then keep us posted too. I mean, obviously we'll be on the site, but if you do the bone broth kits and or the chicken feet, I want to hear about it.
Okay. Maybe I'll talk to you before and make sure we dial it in to your specification.
Yeah, 100%. Because I
Cool.
mean, I love that. Like Chef Lance and I were totally like that. Like I have still on their site, like my reboot kit, and like we kind
That's
of
awesome.
work things out. Yeah, I love.
We may make a broth product pre-made, but honestly, it's like such an easy product to make, and you get 5 times as much for the same price when you do it at home. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure you have great recipes for it, but let's talk
Yeah,
about it. That'd be fun.
Instant Pot is the game changer for
Exactly.
it. It's
Exactly.
the best. It makes it so
Totally.
much easier.
Agreed.
Yeah, same. I get lazy at times, so I like to have product I can buy.
Same. Same.
And I spend extra money, but I agree. Like where it's at, the bang for your buck is making it yourself. And there's something, I don't know, really rewarding, I think, about like I love cooking for my family, knowing like I'm giving them nutrient dense foods. There's something really empowering about that. Especially like the more you know, unfortunately. And, it just feels really good. So yeah, I always try to encourage that too with all of my clients is I think there's a lot of nourishment that comes from making our own food.
I mean, when you go pull a little of your own rosemary and a little of your own thyme from your garden and put it in, it's like, all right, that's like,
it feels really
that's
special.
Like it's really cool. So I'm with you, but I also have plenty of frozen pre-made broth, in my freezer at all times too. Because when you start seeing that cold come on or something else, like, yeah, that's our first line of defense for sure.
Yeah, same. All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul. We wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
To connect with you, and we'll talk again soon. Okay.
All right, cool. See ya.
Right.
Thanks,
bye.
guys.
Be well.
Bye.